Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Laden Yurachek.
Welcome to another Toronto RehabWeek 2019 Spotlight interview presented by IFAS, the International Functional Electrical Stimulation Society. Thanks to them for sponsoring these episodes.
So here we are at RehabWeek. We're sitting in the booth of Hocoma, and who has really been the leader in starting RehabWeek. I understand this is the fourth RehabWeek to take place, the first time it's been in North America. And we're sitting with Ursula Costa, who is a trained physical therapist, but she's also a technology enthusiast. Great to see you. We were on a panel yesterday. Can you kind of tell us what RehabWeek means to Hocoma?
So RehabWeek for us means the opportunity to meet with clinicians and engineers all over the world and be in touch with the research that is going on the field, but also with the end users and better understand their problems. So we have the commitment to try to help the community and help the patients to provide more intensive therapy and better therapy, but we still have many challenges, not only in the technology per se, but in adoption and in implementation. And RehabWeek is an opportunity to understand how therapy is done in several countries in the world and try to learn from that and bring better solutions.
Yeah, so from a perspective of a PT, you were telling me earlier that you actually had a spinal cord injury yourself when you were younger. Can you just tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of motivated you to get into physical therapy?
When I was 12, I got the spinal cord tumor. I always say I was lucky enough because I recovered most of my motor function, but I became what I call an invisible spinal cord injury because people look from the outside and I look okay, like some better days, some worse days, but like everybody else. But I still have all the invisible problems of it. I have spasticity, I have neuropathic pain, I have bladder and bowel problems. And for me, it was always amazing to think, how did I recover my motor function? And I always thought every patient should get to that point, but I had many of I call them colleagues at the hospital from my experience. They didn't get this luck and they didn't recover. So I was really motivated to go into PT school, but I knew it that I wanted to be into neuro rehab because I just wanted to help people like me to get better chances to recover.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Hocoma is a high-tech company. You have a lot of in-clinic rehabilitation equipment, and we're looking at really kind of some sophisticated robotics. Can you just kind of talk to us about the entry of robotics and how it's kind of changing how people do rehab today?
So Hocoma developed the first robotic exo already 20 years ago. I always compare it with cell phones because they kind of also came about 20 years ago. And there is a massive difference. It's like robotic technology is there. It has evolved a lot, but we never got the adoption. We are able to develop amazing technologies. Not only Hocoma, there are so many providers and so many researchers in RehabWeek that do really amazing things, but we don't make it to get it to the patients. And that's kind of, we have evolved in terms of technology. We don't only have the gait exoskeleton anymore. We moved to upper limb, we moved to overground training, we moved to early mobilization, we moved to several segments. But the next challenge for the next 20 years will be to get that next to the patient.
And I've seen some of your presentations where you really talk about harnessing neuroplasticity in the human body, along with all of the rehab of moving the limbs. Can you just talk about that a little bit, of what that principle is?
So we know from motor learning principles that intensity matters, and to drive neuroplasticity, we need to have enough intensity. So if we don't have the number of repetitions and the right activation of the patient, which is as important as the number of repetitions, it will be hard to get recovery. So technology can help us, especially on giving repetitions, but we need to assess the technology that it also help us on getting the patients active when they are on it, because the repetitions per se will just not be enough.
Mm-hmm. So it's actually an active involvement.
Exactly. We need these robots. I always tell it just gives the perfect environment for the patient to train. So we should not aim for robots that do the job for the patient. We should aim for robots that let the patient express the maximum he has.
So we've seen a lot of technology. We've talked about a lot of things here at Rehab Week. What's the thing that excites you the most that you see that's kind of just going to take us into the future? What's exciting for you?
So the first thing is that we are all here. That's already exciting. Like getting over 1,000 people that is looking into the future of rehabilitation, that's already a big step. But what I'm really surprised, that's the third Rehab Week for me, is that the mindset really changed. I remember in 2015, most of the talks were about behavioral change. And I remember sitting on those rooms still kind of as a just finished PhD student and listening to, the therapists have resistance to technology. Therapists don't want to use technology. And inside my brain was like, which therapist did you talk to? Because that's not the experience I had. But then we moved to 2017 and we stopped talking about behavioral change. It moved towards we need to be more efficient because it's still expensive. But we talked about expensive. And I always say expensive just depends on the value. It's not just the cost. So you need to look beyond the etiquette of the cost with the cost price. And I think this year we are here and we overcame that challenge again in these 2 years. We are really, for the first time, looking into the future. How can we personalize rehabilitation? How can we get it expand and accessible for the patients? How can we just move towards the future and face the challenges that on reimbursement, on adoption, on clinical integration? So I think let's see in the next 2 years what is the next challenge, but I'm excited that at least all those what we discussed in this one will get solved.
Good, sounds great. Thanks so much for your time, Ursula. It was great to talk to you.
I'm more than welcome. It's a pleasure to talk to you as well.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.